right. Well, wonderful to see everybody here. I've been here now, coming up on 4 months. You can believe that? Wow, I still feel like I'm still making my bed for the first time up there in the monastery. But the great thing about it is little by little I'm getting to know some of you, and I'm looking forward to a time when this will be a room full of friends that I know and that we've spent time together. I never quite know what's going to happen in a lecture, kind of by design, but this morning I'm hoping to be able to share some of what I feel like are the most beautiful things that I've found so far, trying to take some of the most challenging truths that I've heard so far, and to lay out a map of beauty, I guess, a map for finding that which is a fulfilling and beautiful existence, a beautiful way of being in this world. I'm really looking forward to one of you realizing God, not to mention my own adventures in that direction, because I can't imagine a time in my life when I've looked at the world and felt like it would be more appropriate to finally have someone who loves for the sake of love, and for someone who's given up every bit of selfishness in themselves to love with a pure love that requires no return, no payment, a love that's given with no expectation, but just an open heart, a heart that knows the oneness, that touches it. I want to talk about practice this morning because I had something happen in this last year that was quite radical for me, which we'll talk about in a small way, but talk about the truth that kind of brought that about, and to give you something to play with, something to think about, something to experiment with. I don't know, one of the attitudes I've always had toward my practice is for it to be a big experiment. I've always insisted that faith should lead to something that can be seen, that can be explored, that can be known, at least in its initial states, enough to develop that love and grow. And so we're dropping in on a guru and his disciple this morning. They're Zen practitioners. And the teacher comes to his student and he says to him, "Hey, what are you doing?" "I'm practicing meditation," Baso replied, the name of his student. "Well, why are you practicing meditation?" "I want to attain enlightenment. I want to be a Buddha," the disciple said. Do you know what the teacher did? He picked up a tile from the ground and started to polish it. Basu, his disciple, watched confusedly for a moment and then asked, "What are you doing?" He says, "Well, I'm polishing this tile because I want to turn it into a jewel." Baso asked, "How is it possible to make a tile a jewel?" His teacher replied, "How is it possible to become a Buddha by practicing meditation?" In Zen mind, beginner's mind, which is where that story comes from, our teacher there, Suzuki, also says that, but as long as you think that you are practicing for the sake of something, that is not true practice. Right? When you sit down to meditate, and it was actually this verse and several others that I read in some of my other readings that really trapped me, really ran me into a corner, because I realized that I was a spiritual materialist, that I had expectations on God as I approached her, that I had expectations on the reality, and that I thought somehow I could sit and grab those by what I did or how I behaved or what I became. But a student approaches the Divine Mother and says, "Mother, my mind is so very restless. In no way can I study it." Mother, "Child, as the wind removes the clouds, so does the name of God destroy the cloud of worldliness." The questioner, "Mother, I have practiced austerities and japa for so long, but I have not achieved anything." Mother, "God is not like a fish or a vegetable that you can buy for a price in the market." "Well, then how can I realize God? Through worship or japa or meditation?" Mother, "None of these." God is realized only through grace. Nonetheless, one must perform their japa and their meditation, for they remove the impurities of one's mind. As one gets the fragrance of a flower by handling it, or the scent of sandalwood by rubbing it against a stone, similarly one becomes spiritually awakened by continuously contemplating the divine. But you can become enlightened right now if you become desireless. So this marvelous idea that our realization is not a matter of works. If it was, it would be something that we constructed, something that we built. And as we know from Vivekananda, that everything that is composed must decompose. So everything will return to its most basic state, which is that divine principle, that one without a second. And so an understanding that this is an act of grace, that it's not the result of our works, then what do we do? What are the rules of engagement? I want to pick up some more of these little trinkets to kind of surround ourselves with, to give us a little circle of ideas to sit in as we sit down to practice, to meditate for the first time together. Because every time we sit, it's always the first time, right? In the Gospel, the Master says, it will not do to simply express these ideas in words. Only when you assimilate it will it be well with you. When the heart becomes pure through the practice of spiritual discipline, then one rightly feels that God alone is the doer. He alone has become mind and life and intelligence. We are only his instruments. Right? So this understanding that God alone is the doer, that means you're not the doer. So even if you had the idea of doing something in your meditation, you cannot, because you are not the doer. It's egoism that tricks you into thinking that you're doing something. But Vivekananda says, see, all of us have been led along one minute step at a time into wanting the things we want, into doing the things that we do, into searching for the things that we're searching for. That we've never been the impetus of action. It's always been an idea. It's always been a memory. It's always been a sensation that leads us into a circle of thinking that places the thing we need outside of ourselves and promises that we can change the moment and make it better by grabbing something outside of ourselves in order to reach that. This is our delusion. This is where we're stuck, because we don't know who we are. We watch ourselves as a body and we think that's me. We watch our mind as a thinker and we think, oh God, that's me. And we wonder what to do. But we are God's instruments. So when you sit for meditation, that's one of the first things to do when you sit there. Just sit and be quiet for a moment to get your bearings. Say, nothing that I can do right now is going to make me realize God. So I'm not going to focus on what I'm doing. This is done by grace. So I'm going to draw into that grace. This is done by God alone as the doer. And so the best that I can do is make myself available to sit and allow the doer to change me. And I tell you, this is a beautiful experience if you sit there in quietness, in a surrender, with the idea that you are the baby on the changing table. Because the Divine Mother says that it's not your responsibility to clean yourself up, right, when you've made a mess of things. She said that's the mother's job. She said, it is my job to clean you up. It is my job to bring you to realization. It is not your job. Your job is to make yourself available to me and to surrender, not to roll yourself off of the changing table and to fall on the floor. Right? In I Am That, Sri Nisargadatta is going to give us another little trinket, another rule of engagement here. He says, I am in my own state, Swarupa, timelessly in the now. Past and future are in the mind only. I am now. He goes on to say, to be, I don't need a past or a future. All experience is born of imagination. I do not imagine, so birth and death do not happen to me. So this wonderful idea of the fact that we are only and ever only in the moment, that the idea of a past and the idea of a future is make-believe. It's a concept of your own mind, based on what you would call memories. You know, the mind insisting that the moment is a series of snapshots of a moment. It takes a snapshot every time you open your senses. And then again, it takes another snapshot that says, wait a minute, there's difference. Is that difference what's out there, or is it a difference in your own mind, right? What is different, it says, because the changing, that there is no past and that there is no future, so there can be no story in this moment. So as you sit and you do your practice and you've realized that you're not the doer, or you're at least committing to not being the doer, you're coming to your surrender, you're allowing Mother's grace to bring you in and draw you close and to make the changes in you that need to be changed. And as you've silenced your mind, quieted out the stories by remembering that there is no past, so anything that I dragged into the room with me is make-believe. Any stories of my impurity, any stories of my shortcomings, any stories of my needs and hungers, they do not belong here, because only the moment is in here. And so we let go of our past and we let go of our future, and we sit in our surrendered state before the Mother, holding on in that silence. Ramakrishna goes on to say, as is a man's meditation, so is his feeling of love. So love is what you will find. Love is what there is in meditation to experience in the beginning, to know a little bit farther down the path, and to be in the end of it. So as is a man's meditation, so is his feeling of love. So you want to know how you're doing in your meditation. How much love are you experiencing? Are you knowing? How much love are you try to take it out of the world of experience and have it kind of build up behind you in your being, and then spill out through your imagination, spill out through your mind, spill out through your body, because you're just so full and so inundated with this graciousness that when people bump into you or cut you off from the freeway or take your car to the grocery store, you're walking around in an atmosphere of a church, of a temple, because you are that very temple of that soul, that spirit that is you, that you've given your name to. You've decided to call it by you, but you are the Divine Mother living a life, exploring what love looks like through a body-mind with this set of limitations and restrictions. The Divine lives in you and expresses your life through you. Your ego takes a name of its own and says, I'm the one experiencing, I'm the one doing, forgetting that it's an observer of this divine play, and gets all caught up in those stories. And so this love of Mother acting through you, being through you, the more you feel that sense of love as your only motive for things. At work, you're not working anymore to get, just like when you sit to meditate, you're not working there to get, because there is no past and there is no future, so there are no products, there are no results, there are no series of events that lead to anything. There's only this moment of isness, where you as the divine child, you as light, love, wisdom, being, simply shine, simply manifest. When you have no beginning and no end, you have no goal in life, no purpose in life that you have to fulfill. I spent at least 2/3 of my life so far trying to figure out, well, what am I here for? What's this all about? And I've wasted so many times and given up so many projects because they just didn't seem like they were the thing, or they were fulfilling, or that they were going to take me to the goal. That's ultimately what led me into the monastery, was just that frustration of just realizing that my life up until that point had just been this, that movie Alien, where that, that horrible creature attaches to that guy's face, and puts its thing down his esophagus and then grows in him, I saw myself as that thing, but what I was doing was just attaching to the planet and just sucking out pleasure, sucking out experiences. That my whole life up until that point was just, how can I enjoy myself? What can I do that's interesting? What adventure can I find that's important? What thing can I learn that's going to be helpful? What can I do? And I wandered the world. There was one point, where I came home and sat on my bed. I've told this story before, after a night out, and just began crying because I felt so depressed, so absolutely alone, because I had been going out and working and having fun so often and working so hard at it, that I had this little secret of mine, and that was, at all of the parties I was going to, I was always the one who everybody was like, oh my God, he's such a party dude, he's always having such a great time, he's always having so much fun. And I would go home and sit on the edge of my bed and have to admit that the only reason I looked like I was having so much fun was because I was desperately trying so hard to have as much fun as everybody else was looking like they were having. So I took out all the stops, tried to have as much fun as I could. As is a man's meditation, so is his feeling of love. And as is a man's feeling of love, so is his gain. And faith is the root of all. So in this quest for knowing, this quest for opening, this quest for realizing, that's really the only word you can use, because it's not an addition to yourself. You see, in this moment, as you sit there, you already have your realization complete within you. The gift is already wrapped. It's already sitting there on the table of your heart waiting for you to find it. As soon as you can pull yourself out of here, pull yourself out of the world of change. Right? We have to do that. You take a stick, right? And you go and you poke a hornet's nest, right? Which end of the stick are you paying attention to when you're poking the hornet's nest, right? You're paying attention to the end that's poking the hornet's nest, right? You're not paying attention to the end you're holding in your hand. But as soon as you're successful, right? As soon as you've made that poke and those bees come out, then what end of the stick are you going to be thinking about? You're going to think about you, the one who's holding that stick, right? Because you have to run across the yard and jump in the lake and get away from it. You see, as you're living your life here, if you don't know who you are and you don't know what you are, you're just randomly poking your stick, right, through your senses into all the world. Is this any fun? What's up there? What happens over? What if I do this? You know, you're practicing, and the whole time you're paying attention to the outer end of your stick, the world of change, that world of experience, the world of ups and downs, constant stories about yourself, the stories that cause you misery, the stories that cause you depression, the stories that cause your loneliness, and there are also the stories that cause your momentary elations and joys. But like all stories, they end. They're constantly running out. And so now we're going to come back to our chair, to our seat, to sit. We're going to come back with this knowledge that this happens by grace alone. It's not an adding to myself. God alone is the doer. There's nothing for me to do. I sit in my surrender before the Mother, who will take charge of all that needs to be changed within me, in order for me to realize what I already am. So all of this changing is going to be a letting go, remember, because we're not doers. We're just letting go. Stopping all of the imagined stories that have set us up to think about ourselves, what we currently think about ourselves, and to set ourselves free. So one of the most important things in that is that grace that we were told that God is taking care of, that it's by grace alone that we come to this realization, to this knowledge. And the Divine Mother says something very important. She says the grace of God is very easily attained. God is love itself. She's not trying to hold back this love from you. What is holding back the love from you? It's your own mind. Holy Mother says the grace of God is easily attained, but the grace of your own mind is difficult indeed. Because it's your own mind that becomes the accuser, that becomes the pointer. When you sit there and try to accept joy for the sake of joy in your meditation, when you try and accept, let's say you're going to be bold and say, oh, I'm already realized, I'm going to accept my realization this moment. Where will the story come from in you that says you're not worthy? How can you say you've realized God? I know where you were this morning. I know what you did last night. I know what you are inside. I know what you think and what you do. Right? Interestingly enough, I've realized over the years, I grew up in a Christian tradition, and we always had the devil to blame everything on. And I've come to realize in the Vedanta, that devil is egoism. That devil is your own sense of self, which is inaccurate. A sense of self that's tied to the body and mind, which makes you focused on something very small, something very temporary. So the things of your desires are small and temporary, and they pertain only to you. That's why it's selfishness. To be identified with body, to say that this body is me, that I'm a man, I'm this old, I'm of this stature and function. Those are all small ideas that will rob you of any power, of any greatness whatsoever. And the desires that that body will hand you to entertain you are tiny. Tiny little desires whose fulfillment is only seconds, moments at a time, and then leaves you right back where you were. That gave you nothing but your distraction from the world. There's a wonderful way of getting around this, and it's actually from Exodus in the Old Testament. Part 2, this one is in Psalms, the second one's in Exodus. That famous statement, all Vedantists know it, it's our famous thing, and our most favorite statement in the Christian Bible. Be still and know that I am God. I want to take this idea, be still and know that I am God, and follow it up with Exodus here, where it says, the Lord will fight for you, and you have only to be still. Right? You only have to make yourself available to the beloved, to the divine beloved. You know, when I went and did that Vedantic experiment in Colorado for 2 years, that was my only principle, was to be available. I didn't know, I wanted to go and start a new center, and I got there on the ground, and I was sitting at my shrine in my room that I was renting that night. I just finished putting it in, and I was like, okay, Ma, I'm here. Now what? I have no idea what you want. I have no idea what you need or what I'm supposed to do. Right? And Mother gave me this sensation of this understanding very deeply at that moment. I really imagined her just thumping her finger in my chest and telling me emphatically, with not that friendly smile on her face, but that very commanding smile, you have one responsibility in this world and no other. You stay here. You sit in the shrine of your heart in my presence. I will take care of everything else. I'll take care of everything else. You see, and in this world, you are only to be still. You are to go inside and find the chapel, find the shrine of the heart, find the place where the love of the beloved, that absolute unchanging in some miraculous way, is slipping through a hole just the size of your thumb in your heart and manifesting a whole universe through your mind for you, a whole life and a whole story. Find that source of love in you that gives to your husband or your wife or your girlfriend or your lover all of your love, that desire for oneness, that desire for sweetness, that desire for fulfillment. Find the source of that within yourself so that you're not fooled into begging everywhere else. Because all of the love that you've gotten in your life has never come from another person. All the love in your life has been reflected back to you from the love that you put out into the world. Know that love, find that source within yourself so that you're not set on a life of searching, a life of hunger, a life of loneliness. Find that space where you are always in the company of the divine, the beloved. The Lord will fight for you in this stillness. There's a wonderful story from the gospel about a king, Jaimal, and he's very devoted. He's sitting in his shrine room, and he refuses to leave the shrine, even though everybody is banging on the door of his shrine, saying the enemy's attacking. They're arraying their battle lines outside the castle walls. Get out there. You've got to come. You've got to do your meditation later. Get out there, right? But the king answers calmly to his wife, who's screaming at him, "Why are you worried? Shyamasundara, his deity, gave me this kingdom. What can I do if he has decided to take it away? On the other hand, none will be able to do me harm if he protects me. Our own efforts are in vain." And actually, in the meantime, Shyamala Sundara, the deity himself, had taken the king's horse from the stable, had ridden fully armored into the field. Alone he faced the hostile king, and alone he destroyed his entire army. Having crushed the enemy forces, the deity returned to the temple and fastened to the horse nearby. Jaimal, the king, on completing his worship, came out and discovered the horse there, panting and covered with sweat. "Who's been riding my horse?" he demanded. "Who brought it to the temple?" The officers, all the panicking, I'm sure, thinking, what's it mean? Right? They all declared, "I knew nothing about it at all." In a pensive mood, the king proceeded to the battlefield with his army, and there he found the enemy, with the exception of their leader, lying dead. He was staring uncomprehendingly at the scene when the enemy king approached, worshipped him, and said, "Please, permit me to tell you something. How could I fight? You have a warrior who could conquer the entire world. I do not want your wealth or your kingdom. Indeed, I will gladly give you my own if you tell me about the blue warrior, your friend." No sooner did I turn my eyes on him than he cast a spell on my very heart and soul. This is how God will help you. You stay true to your principle. You stay true to Satchitananda, to that impetus of love, a pure love, an unconditioned love that sits as your battery, as it were, back here. And you make sure that the condition of your mind and the condition of your body and your attachment to it do not change or pervert the radiation of that love that goes out equanimously from you to everyone, regardless of whether they came to your party or not, regardless of whether you got invited to their sorority event or not, regardless of whether you got the promotion or not. Your love always flows evenly out to everyone. It is not the tool of your own story of egoism to serve you and to feed your delusions about what you're searching for and what you're needing. That God will come out, and it's a matter of realization, right? Because the king goes out there, he's like, what in the world is happening? Because what did the king do? He sat in his shrine. He sat in his stillness. He made himself available to the beloved, to the divine. He stood firm in his faith, right? And didn't let go of any other idea. He said, God gave me all this, God will take it all away, and I will be fine, as long as it is the divine will. Because I know that love. I know that wisdom. I know that peace of the divine will. So we're going to start then with this whole idea, this be still and know that I am God. Sit there like the king did in his shrine and know that the beloved is taking care of you at that moment. Allow it. Allow yourself to open. In the beginning, you might want to have a conversation. You might want to share something with the beloved. You may want to talk. Do that all you want. In time, it grows. That relationship grows. That knowledge grows. You see, in the beginning, we say that be still and know that I am God. And so you come to know God. You come to know God as the unchanging noun of love, wisdom, and being, as we talk about. That God is greater than the doer. God has nothing to do. He dwells in perfection, and all that he is and experiences is perfection. Right? Outside of time, in eternity, he is simply a divine principle. No movement. You are that divine verb, the verb of his love, the verb of his wisdom, the verb of his being. So you're the one that gets to love. You're the one that gets to be wise. You're the one that gets to know peace and confidence, that bliss that passes understanding within us. Come to know that divine principle of God, unchanging, always present, everywhere present, no boundary, no separation. God is existence, you exist. Take that as your letter of confidence in your knowledge that God is with you, the grace of God is on you. If you know love, if you can think of someone that you love in your mind and you can feel that love for them, and if you can feel their love for you, then know that God is in you at that moment and present, because it is God that is love. And without that commitment to you, you could not feel love. You could not express love. Your existence, God is that existence. Contemplate that existence, open to being, and understand what that means in the presence of this divine. We're going to go through this sentence. Right? To be still and know that I am God, and we're going to take one word off the end at a time. Because in that sentence is the whole process of realization. So we drop off the word God at the end, and we come down to be still and know that I am. Right? And so God ceases to be this named element outside, and he becomes I am. He becomes your name. Right? Anytime you have ever said anything to somebody about you, you have used God's name. I am X, Y, or Z. But you always start with the name of God. That's how you know that this is natural and true, that you are the divine. When you say, I'm hungry, right? You're saying the name of God and giving him the attribute of hunger. Right? When you say, I'm angry, you're doing the same. Right? And all of those things. So be still and understand what that I am is within you. Feel that love of God, that presence. Find it. Where is this divinity? If it's not out there, if it's nothing in the external world that I can go grab, where does it exist in me? Where is it? Be silent and know that I am. There's some clues here. Corinthians 13, my favorite verse, and much of these are my favorite ideas. Falling into them every time I fall a little bit more, there's greater joy and greater bliss and greater freedom in all of these things. But in Corinthians, where we get that wonderful list that I love to share about the nature of love, this is how you know the I am. This is how you know what God is. This is how you know what you are. Love is patient. So you're patient with yourself. You're not in a hurry, ever. You're simply manifesting your divine nature. That's your only purpose. There's nothing else to do. There's no other story. Love is kind. So God is kind, and you are kind. Right? And the more your ego is out of the way, the more your kindness looks like God's kindness. The more egotistical or calculating you are in the way that you're kind or in the way that you're loving, the more that ego drives that, the more misery and the more suffering you go through, and the more doubt you have in your intimacy with the divine beloved. Love does not envy. Right? It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Do you see all of these challenges? Everywhere where I flinch, where no record of wrongs. Oh my goodness. I've certainly kept some records of wrongs, not to mention my own. That's where our karma is kept. God is not keeping a record of wrong because God is love himself, love itself. So it says he doesn't keep any records of wrongs. So where are the records of all your wrongs that you're concerned about? They're in your own mind, in your own karma. As long as you identify with body and mind, you're hugging your karma. You're hugging responsibility for all the things that your body-mind leads you to. And since it is not Satchitananda in its essence, it will violate your principle of being all the time. And when you act in ways that are contrary, when you're impatient, when you're unkind, when you're envying, when you're boasting, when you're being arrogant, when you're happily chit-chatting or gossiping about someone's mistake or someone's downfall, finally, you can't believe what I saw today, right? Dishonoring others, and we delight in it. Know that that will come back and cause you pain. Know that that will come back and cause you misery. Not because it's a sin, not because it's the wrong thing, it's because it's not you. It's not your nature. It's not who you are. This idea of not sinning and not doing wrong things and paying so much attention to not doing, self-control, where will you get with that? Are you going to live your whole spiritual life for your imagination? You're trying to be true to you. You're trying to live in a way that allows you to be free. The problem is when you're identified with body-mind, right? When you enter into that idea, the definition of freedom changes for you. Someone identified with their body and mind believes freedom to be the ability to do whatever they want. Right? Because you believe that you're the body, you believe that you're the mind says, I want pancakes. So you had better get busy. Get those pancakes, right? No, I don't want those ones, I want blueberry ones. I don't want the pancake syrup at home, I want to go to IHOP. Right? The body and the mind will drive you with your desires endlessly. And you will think, because you've identified with them, oh, I want pancakes. I want that, I want this, and you run and you grab it. But just a small amount of time in your inner shrine, your own inner shrine, sitting with your own truth, not something out of the box of religion somewhere, not something out of an ancient dusty book somewhere, but something that comes out of the silence of your being when you're paying attention to being, when you're there, present, not wrapped up in spinning stories on all 10s of your fingers in your mind, keeping track of layers of desires, layers of aversions and attractions. But when you've silenced that for a minute and allowed yourself to remember you're just human, all of this is new. All of this is a wonder. Be still and know that I am. It does not delight in evil, but rejoices in the truth. It always protects. Right? So you can sit silently knowing that safety. You can let go of your guard. Let go of your fears. Let go of this need to hide any part of you from yourself, or to use other language, from God. But to open everything into an open honesty and owning only the things that belong to you. And what are those three things? Right? There's only three truths we've mentioned that you can say about yourself, only three things that you can say you are. You can say, I'm loving. That's true to your nature. You can say, I'm wise, because that's true to your nature. You can say you exist, because that's true to your nature. Anything else, you've been fooled by your attachments. If you say, I'm angry, lie. You have to use the right language. My mind is angry. The mind is angry is even better. Right? I'm hungry. You've never been hungry. The body is hungry. You're fine. Right? Go into your inner world. We've talked about this in our last lecture, finding out what is you and what is body and what is mind. And how do they meet? Where do those three crash together within yourself? Right? Because we're always in the mind. We're just in the world of change. We're just like a bee just flying from one flower to the next, not really understanding nature, not understanding the depth of being, because we're always looking at the wrong end of the stick. We're not paying attention to this other side. You see, within you is the absolute unchanging. That you, which has been you ever since you were born, that hasn't changed with your body, that isn't gray, that isn't drooping, that isn't melting, right? That self in you, which is the love and the life that wakes you up in the morning, right? That you, which can still express love, that has been the you that gave the first flower to your mother, and gave your first gift to your partner, and gave your first prayer to God. That you is eternal, outside of time. It hasn't changed with your body. It hasn't changed with your mind. That's how it is aware of the changes in your body and your mind. If it had been changing with it, it wouldn't notice. But it hasn't changed. It is still you, ever fresh. So now we'll go down one more. Be still and know that. This witness consciousness, inside, the only role that you've ever had is to observe. All of your believing in doing has been a trick of illusion. You've been led, right? Remember my pizza story? I'm walking down Polk Street in San Francisco on a beautiful, perfect day. I'm thinking, God, what a gorgeous day. I just moved in the monastery. That's cool. Life is really interesting at this point. It's perfect. And then I smell pizza, right? And now I think, I want pizza, right? And I think I want pizza. I'm the one who wants to have pizza. But I only wanted pizza because I smelled it. So I was tricked into believing that I want pizza. So then the next problem occurs. Oh my God, I don't have any money. I'm a monk. How am I going to get a piece of pizza when I find out where that smell is coming from, right? And so what do? You have to come up with that money. Find that money. So I remembered my $20 in the Christmas card. Went and got that $20, went and bought pizza. Now I finished that first piece. It was extra sinful pizza because it was pepperoni. I took a bite of that pepperoni pizza, and then the day was perfect. Now the day is perfect, right? But what happened to the perfect day that I was having without pizza in the sunshine on Polk Street before I smelled it, right? If that day was perfect, how did it become imperfect? It became imperfect because I stepped into my senses, right? I stepped into that threefold problem of Eve in the Old Testament, in the Garden of Eden. Right? Stepped in what? The first thing, she's looked at that tree of the knowledge of good and evil, which incidentally is the tree of egoism, right? She looked at that tree and she saw what? She saw that the fruit was beautiful, right? That pizza smells great, right? I saw that it was beautiful. Step two, she thought that she could get something from it. She thought that it would be something she should own, right? So then I'm thinking, where is that pizza shop? Where's my $20? Right? And then the third step, she thought that it would make her like God, that it would fulfill her. Right? I've got to have that pizza. It's the only way to be fulfilled. So I walk all the way back to the monastery, all the way back over with my $20 and get my piece of pizza. And now I've come to believe that pizza makes life perfect. Right? That's bondage. That's called attachment. That's called samskara. Now every time I smell that pizza, I'm going to have a hook in my nose. Right? And so it is with every one of your desires. A hook in your nose, leading you through life, and you're thinking, I'm doing what I want. I'm living the dream, baby. Right? My body wants something, I'm on it. My mind gets dissatisfied, I'm on it, right? But the whole time, what are you in the midst of that? A slave. That's why they call it slavery. Your desires get more and more refined, you're going to have to work harder and harder for them. That was one of the things that really disappointed me when I got out of college and got my first job, and boy was I making money. Woohoo! My salary that month that I graduated and got that first job went from $800 a month to like $4,200 a month or something, and I was like, wow, man, the world is mine. I got out there, I learned a hard lesson over the next decade. I learned you always spend what you make. If you're broke on $800 a month, you're going to be broke on $4,200 a month. That's the way it is. Because if you can afford to not have to eat at McDonald's, and you can go down to, I don't know, La Vida Loca or whatever restaurant it is, and spend, you know, $700 on your meal instead of $12.95 for 90s price, right? And so you're everything, this thing's in the way. Everything inflates, right? Everything just gets bigger. All of your desires just keep getting bigger, and they take bigger investments from you to do, and it takes more time and more effort. And pretty soon you're in the midst of it, working, you know, 16, 18 hours a day for all of these wonderful things that you've surrounded yourself with, terrified to quit. Nailed to the wall, literally, because of all the people that work for you now. Oh my God, I've got to keep this business going. It's got to be successful. All these people depend on me. You know, your wife wants this thing or that thing, or, you know, your children need this college payment or that college payment, or they want a better car or this car. And you're running around now, your desires have somehow become everybody else's desires, and you're running around having to fix all of that now. So you see what's happened to us. We get caught in this whirlwind, we stay in the mind. We forget the silent unchanging because it's not very interesting to a mind, to a self that's trained to enjoy constant change, right? This seems boring. That's why when you sit down to meditate, you're like, oh my God, now, right? And you sit there and the mind is whirling and whirling and whirling, and you're just kicking yourself, oh God, this is always so useless. I can't meditate. What am I doing here, right? I sat in a monastery for 20 years thinking that about myself. Right. It took me 6 years to actually admit that I was a monk. And it only happened by Mother's grace. I was sitting there in that room, in that shrine, feeling horrible because of all the things in my mind, my condition of life and heart that I knew. And I'm sitting in this beautiful robin egg blue shrine, you know, thinking, oh my God, you know, what am I doing here? And thinking, should I really do this? Am I really a monk? I can't imagine I'll ever be successful in this. And I was sitting there feeling so self-guilty and so small and so unable to do this, and feeling that what is that they call it, imposter syndrome or something. You know, sitting here thinking, God, I'm the biggest hypocrite in the world. I can't possibly manage this. Should I be a monk? And then again, I felt that Divine Mother poke me in the chest again. She said, you idiot, look at you. You're sitting here in a white dress and robes, sitting on the floor in a robin egg blue room, in front of a shrine that you just cleaned, in front of a puja that you just did yourself. How many other ways am I going to make you a monk? Will you get over it and just be? Stop wondering what you are and just be what you are. This is where I've placed you. I invited you into this shrine. I've appeared before you as this image. I've given you this opportunity to know. Sit and be quiet and enjoy being. See what you can find inside that is worth all this fuss, all this effort on my part. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still and know that you are already realized, right? You have to accept the gifts that God has given you. Everything. Placing within you that beautiful love. Accept it. Open it. Don't argue about it. Don't talk about how you have to practice more to get it. You are that love. You know how to love. You know how to forgive. You know how to encourage. You know how to hug. You know how to pay off someone's bills for them. You know how to give someone an encouragement card. You know all of these things. Do it. For people that you don't know, for people that you do know, for people that you like, for people that you hate, stop living in those stories. Free yourself up. You know how miserable you are when you're angry about something. Transcend it, get bigger than it. You know how troublesome it is when someone offends you, when someone you love doesn't respond in the way you want them to. Get bigger than it, right? Absorb all of it into yourself. Every person that could offend you is you. See that, know that. Faith is at the root. Faith and grace, these are the two pieces that you're going to have to become infinitely familiar with. Because unless you actually learn to become perfect in this life, your only salvation lies in those, faith and grace, right? Grace of your own mind, the grace of the world, of this universe, or if you want to name it God, the grace of God, right, is yours. You have to use that grace to get your own mind to give you that grace. Because your mind will withhold that. You're like, no. I know you. You don't deserve this. Right? So your practice is going to have to be about opening faith. Sit there, I'm realized already. And you're going to go look for evidence because you don't believe it. Don't look for evidence. Assume the evidence. Assume it's there. Take it as a promise. Right? This is faith. And this is grace. Understand the nature of the beloved when you were in that part of be still and know that I am God. God is love. What is love? Know that unconditioned love. And really hammer home on yourself inwardly. What is unconditioned love? That means a love with no expectation. That means you don't have to earn it from God. God isn't counting the days since you had too much ice cream. He's not counting the moments since you yelled at your mother. God keeps no record of those wrongs. You're keeping track of those wrongs. And only your faith and grace is going to set you free from those. And so you sit and you accept bliss. You know, but I'm not blissful, I'm depressed. You know, the mind might be depressed, but you're just looking through it. It doesn't affect you. You can be whatever you want to be, or nothing, or everything. Simply in that silence. So know that you are realized. Know that faith is the root. Know that unconditioned love gives you permission. And so you sit there before God, needing nothing, wanting nothing, expecting nothing. And in that silence of no story, nothing, finally you discover a bliss that's been singing silently in the background. A bliss whose note is even and straight and strong and always existent, never diminishing, that you long ago washed out as white noise, the bliss of being, as you've denied that in yourself and gone looking for it out there, and have been so distracted in that quest for something out there, you no longer heard the song of the beloved within, the joy of simply being alive, the joy of simply being able to witness all of this, all of you, all of us. And finally, we drop everything off. We come into a world with no reaction, where we're not reacting to what happens to us. We've changed from living here. If you live in the mind, there's always a purpose and a result for everything that you do. There's always an egoistic pulling out, the smell of pizza, the desire for sex, the desire for love, the desire for intoxications. All of these things pull you out. This is why we renounce. This is why we discern and renounce. This is why we sit. To know the beauty of being, so that we let go of the need for anything that we imagine greater. We accept that we are all that we need. Do you know how much grace that takes? Do you know how much forgiveness of all of your mistakes and all of your stories? The courage that that's going to take? Look at what you've invested your life in. And where has it brought you? You're still looking. How many days of looking left are there before you come to know that you never had to find anything? And you sat down, you're looking, and you sat in your chair and you tried for a moment to be content. Not because you have all that you need, but because you are all that you need. All of your desires, every single one of them, if you do the homework of going inside and trying to understand what we were talking about earlier, where yourself, your mind and your body all meet and communicate, right? If we come and sit in that space, you come to know that all of your desires come from either the body or the mind. That silent watcher, the witness, has never had a desire. When I was sitting in the shrine in DC doing my meditation, I was very bored. And every time I looked at my watch, I had too much time left, and I was getting kind of sad about that, thinking I'm going to quit, getting out of here. And then I had one of those moments again where something in my mind just said to me, you know, kind of out of nowhere, I have been sitting here watching a body and a mind in you for thousands of years. Do you think a few more moments of sitting is really troublesome to me? I am you, right? And you have lived this life through thousands of bodies, watching for millions of years. All the changes, constant, unrepeating flow of change. All to come to the understanding you needed none of it. It was all just a reflection of the beauty that is you. It was all just the reflection of the love that was in you. That your life was not about attaining, achieving, grabbing, getting, acquiring, but that your life was about emanating, being what you are. So that you step out of the mind where everything was a grabbing and a getting and a running and the result of a story, a subject, object, and a verb, and you come inside where everything was just a simple isness. And in there you accept the love that is in you. You accept the freedom that is in you. You accept the contentment that is you. And any time a story arises in your mind that tries to pull you off of that beautiful center, back into that cacophony of change, you renounce. I've done that before, and I'm still looking. It obviously was not the answer. That's discernment. Look at your desires. God does not forbid anything for you that's good for you. Right? God is actually your will perfected. Scripture is your highest ideal. You will write your own scripture one day from the perfection within you. Because you see it. You understand that the scripture is this moment. And you've learned to see it because you're not watching the changing. You're being the divine in that present shrine. And as you are that love and that wisdom, you allow that to inspire your action rather than reaction creating action. When that inspiration becomes your life, when you're doing love, and it doesn't matter what in this world. You don't have to go get a better job. You don't have to go get a less selfish job. You don't have to go get a more pure whatever. You just have to be that purity in the middle of your job. Right? I always like to remind us, especially in this workaday world that we're in now, where everything is so intense and getting more and more expensive, and it seems like we have to work harder and harder and harder, to understand that it's not necessary. That there is a beautiful life in you waiting to be expressed. That is your nature. That is who you are. And so our meditation is not about acquiring that, but about accepting that. And the acceptance only requires a great renunciation, or a great renunciation, yes. In his book, The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle says this: how do you equate surrender with finding God? Since resistance is inseparable from the mind, relinquishment of resistance, or surrender, is the end of the mind as your master, the impostor pretending to be you, the false God. All judgment and all negativity dissolve. The realm of being, which you had been obscured by the mind, then opens up, and suddenly a great stillness arises within you, an unfathomable sense of peace. And within that peace, there is a great joy, that joy, there is love. And at that innermost core, there is the sacred, the immeasurable, that which cannot be named. All of that is true now, in you at this moment. If you can change your eyes from being interested in what's at that end of the stick, and begin paying attention to that which is watching it, which is holding it, and find all of these things through grace and through the faith in their existence until it changes and becomes a knowing, becomes an observable reality for you. Right. Let's take a few moments to be quiet and think about these things.
My mind led me to you, and now my eyes do see your face, and this heart's filled with your love by your ever precious grace, and you are love beyond compare. Each place I am, I find you there. Please keep me ever close to you. In your heart of love, Om From winter is born the spring, giving life to all unseen. Summer's sun bakes the bread for autumn's harvest. Your wind moves every breath, your water quenches thirst. Your earth gives our feet a place for your dance of love. Om Sati Nam Nam. Om Sati Nam Nam. So many tunes and words you bring, so many songs for me to sing, and in this heart your joy does ring with such happiness. Make your thoughts fill up my mind, I lay all actions at your feet, and may my words be one with you in your song of love. Om Sati Nam Nam. Om Sati Nam Nam. Oh yes, my mind led me you, and now my eyes do see your face, and this heart's filled with your love by your ever precious grace, and you are love beyond compare. Each place I am, I find you there. Please keep me ever close to you in your heart of love. Om Sati Nam Nam. 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 Om Sati Nam Nam.
All right, a few announcements. announcements for you. Next week, Swami Yogananda is going to be speaking here from Trabuco on manifesting wonders. And then our Wednesday class will continue this week on Swami Abhedananda, God Lived With Them, a book by Swami Chidbrahmananda, and Prabhupada Krishnaprana is going to lead that class. Next Saturday, we'll have our regular class on the gospel that I'm doing here. And on the 23rd, one of the assistant general secretaries from Bellarmont is going to be here. That's the headquarters of the order around this place, and he's going to be teaching us on the divine touch of Sri Ramakrishna. So we'll do our standard go out and meet and greet, and then I'll come back in for any questions or answers if anybody has some from here. All right. Any questions, comments, good jokes?
I think the joke's on us. But I have a question.
Oh, sure.
You
I
looks like,
was, oh,
if you can pass it to the next person.
okay. I have an altar in my house that has maybe 12, what I consider to be enlightened men and women, beings. And I recently heard somebody talk, I think it was Richard Rohr, and he was saying that when you have too many, it dilutes your, I don't know if he meant realization or it dilutes, that it's better to just pick one and just stay there. So I grew up Catholic. I think the happiest day of my childhood was communion. Dressed in white, walked around the whole neighborhood, just me and Jesus, It's like, anyway. But then I ran into Hinduism, and it just made so much more sense than Catholicism.
Yeah. In one sense, Richard's right. In another sense, not so much. In the sense that if you don't have a practice, you don't have a path. It's all right to look around for a while, but it's good to pick a path and to pick a practice and to pick a tradition. Because if Swami Chidbrahmananda, my guru, said that the importance is, he says, you're looking for water, and if you run over there and it looks like a good place to dig, but you only dig 5 feet, you don't find water, so you give up, you go somewhere else, and you dug a total of 40 feet, but all in 5-foot places, you're not going to get the water, most likely. You have to stay in the same and apply your practice. Now, I don't think that it would apply to the congregation on your shrine, because a realized soul are all the same person. A realized soul is God manifested purely, and an incarnation is God manifested directly. And so you can have many different pictures of your family on your shrine, and it's still one family, it's still one source. And so in that sense, but like I said initially, you pick a tradition or you pick a path, and then you're welcome to use any other tradition, any other path to embellish your path, to inform your path, but you stay true to your path, because it might be that the scaffolding for that path is vital to that path being viable. And so you want to make sure that you're using all of the scaffolding and all of the mythology and all of the teachings that come with that path. And then you can use other paths to inform and enhance and build up if you want to.
I used to, in the East Coast, be able to go to ashrams and, do arati and everything, and moved out here and followed Ajashanti for a while, did many silent retreats, but haven't had a satsang in a long time. And, Ramakrishna is not my first love.
Mhm.
I mean, he's on there because I went crazy when I found out he loved every single religion. It was like, yay, somebody who just sees God everywhere.
Mhm. Mhm.
But yeah, I guess I'm answering my own question. But your talk today touched me. Anyway, it didn't touch me. It touched that.
Mm. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Ramakrishna's not at all bothered.
He what?
Not at all bothered that he's not your favorite.
I'm
He'll-
sorry. What's the word?
I said, Ramakrishna is not at all bothered by,
Oh.
by him not being your favorite.
Yeah, yeah.
He's still thrilled
Well,
by
I'm
you.
looking and then I look over there like I'm betraying Jesus or something. It's like, oh my
Yes, but
God.
you're just changing eyes. Both of them are the same incarnation. It's God that incarnates. It's not a different person each time that incarnates. It's always God incarnating. When he incarnated as Buddha, when he incarnated as Ramakrishna, Jesus. It's the same incarnation coming. And he comes each time that the world is in decline or out of balance to an extent that makes it too difficult for us to have any success in spiritual life.
Who is it now?
What's that?
Who do you think it is now?
Now? I don't know that I even think that way, because the moment is the divine. And so those who see, there's no need there's no need to have another. You know, Ramakrishna is still here, Jesus is still here.
Right.
The moment has never changed.
Yeah. Is that me?
I have no idea what that is. Sounds like popcorn. Though.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Ready?
Anyone else have a comment or question?
I think it is this. I've heard so many definitions of grace. I was just wondering how you would describe grace.
Is the mic all the way on?
It didn't sound like it was on most of the time.
And now it's on.
Okay.
You heard me, right?
Now, yes, I heard you, but now I definitely see the difference.
Yeah.
Definition of grace. Grace, I guess, would be a particular expression of an unconditioned love. So grace would be a gift with no expectation, a giving with no expectation in return. So that you can, in the case of Christianity would be accepting that forgiveness, accepting the fact that you are perfect in this moment, not because of condition, but by grace. It's knowing that your account is balanced as you sit in meditation, regardless of what has happened. There's a story of Narayan. Someone was going to take some women, and they were going to cross the Jamuna or something, one of the rivers. And he said, yes, but before I take you across, do you have anything? I'm a little bit hungry. And so they offered them the food they were carrying, and he ate all the food that they had. And then he turns around and they're like, oh, okay, well, now that we've fed you everything that we have, can we cross the river? And he said, oh, yes. And he turns and he says, oh, river, if I have not eaten anything, please part your ways and allow these people to allow us to cross. And so the river stops, parts, and the girls are looking at each other like, what the heck? He just ate everything we had. How is it that he can say that and the river parts? But that's that knowledge that he's not body-mind, that he's the self, and he knew that it was not him himself that ate, right? And so to be able to have that confidence, to be able to have that knowledge, even without the ability, is grace. So for us to go and do something like that,